No, I think we'll be fine, Amara. I don't think maybe you'll have a cuss word for me.
Never, never,
All
never.
right, so let's get started. So, good day from Paris, and welcome to HAE Invites, Harvard Alumni Entrepreneurs podcast series, where we bring you inspirational leaders from around the globe. My name is Philip Guarino, and I'll be your host today. For more information about Harvard Alumni Entrepreneurs programming, membership, and sponsorship opportunities, please visit us at harvardaa.org. Purpose. Why is it crucial, not just to entrepreneurs, but for humanity? Here to discuss his journey, why purpose is inextricably linked to success, the transformative power of living purposely, is author, thought leader, and entrepreneur Amar Sharani. Amar sought fulfillment by exploring anthropology and world religions, spending 10 years with Sufi masters and religious scholars, studying, teaching, and subsequently serving as a cleric. Later, he focused on entrepreneurship, starting and seed investing in over 30 businesses with thousands of employees. Amar's startup spirit extended to volunteering in YPO, a global leadership community of chief executives, where he's a founding member of 11 chapters spanning 4 continents, positively impacting their communities. He also founded the YPO Changemakers Club, where members and spouses can share their expertise with others. Amar is also a founder and the chief innovation officer to www.impact.com, an enterprise software company that provides engagement with giving to local charities for customers of loyalty programs like Target and Walgreens. Amar holds an engineering degree from the University of Central Florida, and he's a Harvard Business School alumnus from the President's Program in Leadership. After a near-death experience followed by an 11-year deep dive into the meaning of life, today Amar is focused on growing Purposehood University. Purposehood University is a nonprofit that trains coaches, therapists, business leaders, and professionals who help individuals, families, businesses, and social organizations to live their purpose and unleash the potentiality of every human in order to build a better future for all. Amar teaches Engineering Your Life, a course based on his Amazon #1 new release, Purposehood, Transform Your Life, Transform the World. Amar, welcome to HAE Invites.
Thank you so much. Really a pleasure to be with you.
It's an honor to have you. So to get started, could you talk to us about the inspiration behind Purposehood?
Inspiration. I'll tell you how it happened
Sure.
in here. So I think in 2005, I was under tremendous stress with multiple businesses and lots of challenges where I was not feeling health-wise really well. And I decided to go and do like a full checkup and some tests. And in one of the tests, it's called the tilt table test, and felt like I'm about to faint, and then I fainted. Later on, the doctor showed me my cardiogram, and what I saw there was 3.5 pages of a flat line. And
Wow.
realizing that that could have been the end of my life, I started thinking, oh my God, what was the purpose of my life? What was it all about? What was all that work, all hard work, all this achievement for, striving for success, building multiple businesses? What was it all about? And then the next question that comes to mind is, well, now that you're given a second chance and the heart start ticking again in these other pages, what should be the purpose of my life? Definitely, I don't want to go through that. And the other thing that when I started searching for purpose, I started realizing that it's more of like from the literature and the studies that exist, that it's more like of guesswork than actual science, finding the purpose of your life. And I just couldn't accept that, because everything that is serious in existence almost has a formula and has a process, and something so important to our existence, such as having the clarity of our purpose in life. I thought it must have an equation or a process or a way that everybody can do it. I mean, you find things in nature always repeating. Why, purpose, finding your existential purpose or your life purpose should be just guesswork in here. And that's what took me like 11 years to dive into philosophy, religion, spirituality, physics, quantum physics, revisited some of the topic that I was thinking about in my early years, engineering process, all these kind of things to figure out a process for myself, to find the purpose of my life. And that became something that I started sharing with my friends, because it gave me, I mean, they saw the effect and the impact of that on my own life, and they all wanted the same thing, the same magic formula. So, so I started sharing that with them, and then I ended up, doing some workshops, and then I said, okay, wait a second, let me just put it all in a book, and that became then the process that I developed the whole course, that you can actually go through the whole process and also, just like me, follow a process, not a predetermined dogma or purpose, but a process to find your own life purpose.
So just as a broad kind of introduction, why is purpose important?
Well, I mean, I know that you looked at the book, and I think about that from five, what I call five extensions of being. And if you want to know why it's important for you, you really need to understand it's important in five extensions, on yourself, on your family, on your business, on your community and relationships, and in your relationship with nature. So, on a self, actually, I quote almost 100 different research in about the impact of a person finding their life purpose on their well-being, on their level of stress, anxiety, their level of happiness, their level of feeling fulfilled. So it's directly impact your well-being as an individual. And the reason is very simple, because if you are lost in this jungle of life where you're always either running after shiny objects that I call desires, or running away from fears, then you have no direction. But when you look up to the stars and find a purposeful guiding star, what I call, then everything becomes clear, because you have a direction, and that helps to gives you all that comfort, that resilience, that impact your well-being. So that's on the individual level. And then on the family, when you think about it, I mean, today families are struggling in all dimensions. Divorce is becoming much larger issue in society. The challenges with our children, of course, because of all the distractions and everything that is happening around us, you need a shared purpose for any organization, including the family. So they have the same direction. But if this family unit, each person is going in different directions, and some of them in the opposite direction, is very hard to keep a family moving together in there. So it's very important for each individual to find their own common purpose in a family, their own purpose, and then collectively come together around a shared purpose for our family. Now, with business, it's the same thing. The businesses, I think there are like three challenges that I like usually to talk about when it comes to businesses. One, like misconception that we talk about work-life balance, which I think it's a horrible concept, to be honest, because the moment that you say work-life balance, you separate work from life. So work is something and life is something else. And I gotta work so I can make money, so I can go live. And if you're doing that, then you're spending, 1/3 of your life. We work 8 hours a day on average. I mean, 1/3 of your life, you're spending it not living. And then 1/3 of your life, you're probably sleeping. And the other third that is left, you're doing the things you gotta do to eat and brush your teeth and stuff like that. So how much time you have actually in your life that you truly living? So it's very, very important to make work part of your life, where you actually live your life at work. And the other thing that I think about, this concept that I was asked one time by a reporter about authentic leadership. Our role, or should we be authentic leaders in our businesses? And I said I don't personally believe in authentic leadership, because authentic means what we are, right? And being what we are. But the problem of being what we are, we're not today a product of a well thought of intentional life. We're a product of labels that we inherited at birth. You're born free for a second, then you're assigned a name, a nationality, a religion, a religious sect, ethnicity. I mean, none of those you chose. None of them, any of us chose, right? And you have all this, and then we live all our life trying to live up to these labels that we did not choose, or we live trying to free ourselves from them. And then you add to that then the expectations of the parents, then you add to that the expectation of the teachers and the society and the dogmas and the religions and the religious institutions, etc. So, and the third thing, then we keep adding to ourselves, limiting beliefs. Every time we say I cannot, or I only will, or use these kinds of things, I add limiting beliefs. So when you say, well, be your authentic self, I mean, all you are being is just a reflection of those limitations and labels and limiting beliefs that were put on you. That's not who you are. You need to actually be a purposeful leader, a person who looks forward and then design their life in an intentional way. And then you can be true to the mission that you are doing. And I think the third thing with businesses is that today I see most businesses, they say, okay, they go through pay some consultant some big money, and they come in and they do some interviews and stuff like that, and then they come up with like, okay, this is your purpose, in there. And now what's our job is to go and rally our employees behind this purpose. And that doesn't work, because today, in some places, 89% of employees are disengaged, 19% of them are actively disengaged, which means they're actually trying to destroy your business. So, and there's a reason for that, because, and this idea of like, oh, let's have a purpose and let's rally everybody behind it, doesn't work, because people don't want to live others' purpose. They want to live their own. So if you don't work with the employees and the workers and help them to find their own life's purpose, and then help them to live that purpose at work, and then the third step is to align that with the purpose of the company, then you will not have them fully engaged. But once you do that, you help them find their purpose, you help them to live it at work, and then you align that with the company, then you become unstoppable. You don't need then as many consultants, in there, because they are the most qualified to find the answers to all the challenges. So that's why it's so important also for your business. And then for friendships, I mean, instead of, and communities, today, unfortunately, all relationships are transactional. It's all about, I give you something, I get something out of it. So we need to realign our relationships, our friendship, toward common purposes that we can share. So we move together toward one journey. And finally, with nature, I mean, if we don't truly understand our purpose in existence and why we are on this earth, we end up doing what we're doing today, which is abusing nature, using it as just a source for our enrichment or our pleasure. And that is, on the long run, destroying our potential to continue living as life forms in this planet. So we need to read, once we discover our existential purpose and why we were put on this earth, then we understand that we and nature are just one thing. When literally you eat an apple, I mean, that apple becomes you in a few hours. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how more separated are we from that? If we are not breathing this air that is produced by the trees and the other creatures, 3 minutes we die. I mean, 3 weeks, 3 days without water, you die. Three weeks without food, you die. That's how connected we are with nature and how one we are with nature. So once you understand your existential purpose, then all that becomes aligned. And the problems that we are facing today in all these five dimensions, on the self, family, work, communities, and nature, then can be resolved.
I really appreciate and enjoy that presentation and characterization of this multifaceted notion of purpose. You hear a lot of times, probably glibly, right? People will say, "Well, I have a purpose. I know what my objective is, right? I'm focused on. I'm going to make X amount of money, or this company is going to have 12% growth. I have a purpose." But you make a distinction between purpose and objective. Can you talk to us a little more about that?
Yeah, I make a distinction between what's called today, because that's a word that is used a lot, purpose now,
Yeah.
everything.
Yes.
And it seems like everybody's jumping on that. All the big consulting companies, everybody who wants to sell something, they just stick the word purpose to it. And I want to make a distinction between what's called purpose, which is basically what you described. It's a particular goal or objective that you have, and what I call existential purpose or purposehood. So I use the word purposehood to mean existential purpose or life purpose, in here. And the difference between these two is that a purposehood is more about a direction than a goal. So it's about a direction than a goal. It's a guiding star for everything that you do in your life versus a particular goal that you achieve. The problem with making a goal as a purpose is, which I find a lot in my friends who are CEOs of large companies, and they're driven type of people, but also in others, is that you set a goal and that becomes your purpose. But then when you get there, then what? All of a sudden, it's like, I have no purpose again. I know friends who are like, they're 80 years old and they feel that they lost meaning in life, in there. So a purposehood is more of a guiding star, of a direction versus a particular objective.
Yeah.
And these other objectives, they could be aligned in that direction later, but you got to find the direction first. Otherwise, you're going to have these objective or these goals all over the places, and you wouldn't know if you're going, right, left, going backward. So you need that direction first, and then you can place these different objectives in there. So I think that's a key thing. I mean, it's about one thing I do, like sometimes I ask in the course that I do and in some of the workshop, I say that when people do write their purposehood guiding star statement, I say there are two ways to test if this is truly your purposehood or not. One is a practical one, a purposehood. The byproduct of a purposehood, of finding your true purpose in existence, is happiness, success, and fulfillment. This is just a byproduct. It's not something you pursue. You live your purpose, and then automatically you will receive happiness, success, and fulfillment, just like children. Children don't sit and think about happiness, success, and fulfillment. They just live, talking toddlers. And I have a grandson who's now a year and a half, and I got the chance to watch him, because I didn't have that chance when my kids were growing up, because I was working too hard. And you see that. I mean, you see that every step he's taken in his growth, he is experiencing happiness, success, and fulfillment as a byproduct of living his purpose at that age. Well, now we get confused, I mean, during life, and we lose that purity of understanding our purpose in existence. And so the way to check it, once we go through this process of writing it, is to see yourself and notice if you are moving forward, if you're receiving happiness, success, and fulfillment or not. The other thing that I ask, I say, whatever they write down, I say, would this statement be true if you only had 1 month to live? If not, then that's not your purpose of the statement. That's just some goal. Because sometimes we have these goals of like, oh, I got to make $1 billion. I need to do this. And you say, well, what if you had a month to live? Would you still pursue that? And most people, they drop these things because at that moment, only the most important thing, the thing that gives them meaning in their life, even if they knew that they only had a 1 month to live, that becomes your purpose. That's how you find your true purposehood.
Amazing and really interesting. Wanted to talk to you. The last few years we've all discussed this have been really challenging for humanity. First, we had the pandemic, which is not over yet, and now we have war in Europe, and we have a deteriorating economic backdrop. But perhaps maybe there's some opportunity in times of crisis. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't feel good about the word perhaps.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's not perhaps, we actually do have
Yeah.
opportunity in every crisis that you have. I mean, just think about crises that you lived through in your life,
Sure.
on a personal level. If you go backward and you look at it, you always see that there were some hidden blessing that you didn't see at that moment. If it wasn't for that crisis, you would not have grown in a certain way. Or if you didn't lose that job, you would not have found a new job. It's very hard to see things as they are happening. You say, okay, the war in Ukraine, I mean, where's the good in that? I mean, but if you look backward, if you look back, 20 years, 100 years to events that were devastating, you will see that there always were positive things that came out of them. This is just the nature of existence, even on atomic level. I mean, you have like positive and negative charges, in the matters. So the same thing with a crisis. A crisis, the gifts in the crisis, of course, there's suffering and there's challenges with it, but the gift with the crisis that they make you pause.
Yeah.
We're living in this jungle of life. We're like fully distracted and driven either by pursuing desires or running away from fears. But when you get a crisis, you pause, you stop. It gives you a chance to pause and say, what's going on? And that's the second thing. It helps you to ask questions. And hopefully if you ask the right questions, then you'll do the right reflections of what's happening in there. And that allow you, ultimately to find the new answers.
Yeah.
When you pause, I mean, how often we do that? We don't, we just running all the time after our desires or away from our fears. So we don't have a chance to pause. Now, do you need a crisis to do that? No. If you are living an intentional life, you could actually do that anytime. You can decide to pause, and we have actually beautiful practice. One of the practices that we do is called pause, breathe, smile. That takes 51 seconds, but it's meant to teach a person and teach you how to actually take control of that. You don't need to wait for the crisis to happen, but you learn to actually pause to create that little space between the stimulant and the reaction that is happening. So you can make it more thoughtful response instead of just reaction. So that's what it is. It's like it helps you to pause, it helps you to questions, ask the right questions and then reflect on that. And then it'll help you to find new ways that you are not thinking about or were not obvious to you before. So in reality, always crises end up to be blessings. You just have to have some patience.
Yeah, I really, really love that. And I guess that's a great segue into the next question, which is, I'm curious to know, how can one begin to live more purposefully?
There's an easy way and there's a complicated way.
Of course,
Which one you want?
Of course, we'll choose the easy way.
Well, here's what it is. I mean, it's not rocket science, for sure. It's a process, though. You need to invest the time and put the effort, and it starts by making a decision. You need to decide and take responsibility for that decision, that you want to live an intentional life. Today we're living an unintentional life. All our the pieces that make us, they were put by either by parents, like I said, or expectations of others, or limiting beliefs, and randomly. So we have this confusion. We are struggling, we're suffering because we are not syncing with existence. So you really need to put all these pieces together in a process and live an intentional life. And that's just a process that you go through. I talk about it in the book. I do it in the courses in a simpler way and more practical way. I also talk about 5 daily practices that actually take 20 minutes, but they also play on all these elements that help you live a purposeful life, which is beliefs, mindfulness, giving, wellness, and belonging. So there are like 5 daily practices that literally take 20 minutes. So you invest 20 minutes a day, and they will set you on your course to live a purposeful life and empower your belief, enlarge your mindfulness, stretch your selfishness into selfish altruism through the giving, and then connects all that to your body through wellness. And then with the right belonging and the right community and support around you, then you can truly live that purposeful life. One of my most favorite, I don't know if we have time, but it takes usually 51 seconds. And if you're willing, we can do it, try it in 51 seconds.
Yeah, sure. Let's go for
it. So it's called, this is one of my favorite practices. And I talked a little bit about it before, which is pause, breathe, smile. Mm-hmm. And the way that it works. And it's a combination, by the way, it's a combination of ancient practices plus the latest science. The science in there comes from actually somebody who tried to teach special forces in the military meditation, and how 20 minutes of meditation before they go into action actually helps them tremendously in being focused and being more aware. But then the general said, look, I don't have 20 minutes, for these guys to get in. So go find out what is the shortest time that it takes to, to get them into that mood without having to spend 20 minutes. And that studies, I think it was done in the University of Miami. It could be actually less than a minute. So the whole practice takes, 51 seconds. And the way that it works, you pause for 10 seconds. Pause is almost like freeze. There's this game, like, I don't know what's called, tag or something, like you tag somebody and they freeze in whatever position. So it's just like for 10 seconds, and you bring whatever that moment of awareness that you have at that moment, happiness, sadness, excitement, whatever it is, you just hold it for that 10 seconds. And then you bring your focus to the most important thing in your life. What is the most important thing in your life? Mm-hmm. I'm just asking you, what do you think is the most important thing in our life?
Great question. See, now I'm going back to your original question.
Well, I'll tell you. Okay. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Breathing.
Yes. I would say that's the most important.
Nothing more important thing in your life than breathing. Okay. And if you think there's something more important in your life than breathing, try to hold your breath and not breathe.
I don't want to try. Thanks. Yeah.
And you're going to forget everything else, whatever you're worried about. So what you do then, you bring your awareness back to breathing and to your breath after 10 seconds. And you breathe in 4 and you breathe out 8. And you do that 3 times. And sometimes I like to tell people, like, when you breathe in your mind, say, I breathe in for myself. And when you breathe in out, you say, I breathe out for the world. Just say that in your mind. So you're breathing in 4, you're breathing out 8. So you're giving more than you're taking. So you do that 3 times. And then you finish with a smile, a big, big smile. And the way that your brain cannot tell the difference between a real smile and a fake smile. But what actually makes the smile trigger the hormones that give us that sense of pleasure, sense of connection, sense of ease in our life is a couple of things. Show some teeth. So when you find show some teeth and squint, that's how people think that it's this. So you do that for 5 seconds. So when you collect them all together, it's 51 seconds.
Wow.
Okay, so let's do pause.
Let's do it.
Breathe. And smile. Big smile, big smile. So, yeah, some teeth and squint. It's 5 seconds. Keep going. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. I feel better already, actually. So you recently launched a Purposehood movement. Can you talk to us a little bit about it, and how can our listeners learn more?
Yeah, I mean, it's you kind of don't launch a movement. Movements get launched by themselves. And what happened is lots of the people who read the Purposehood book and some of the people who took the course or the workshop attended that, or we had conversations on odd occasions, they just understood that the way we used to group before it's just not right. We used to group around labels, you know, either political labels or ethnic labels or nationalistic labels, linguistic, whatever, religious labels. And this is the way of the past. The way for the future is about, you know, grouping our around personalized purposes, because again, an existential purpose is a direction, and for those people who share that existential purpose, they are going in the same direction, then these people can truly become a tribe, if you want to say, of the future, instead of a tribe that is based on the old labels that we have. So many of the people who are going through this process, so we all have the same process, but doesn't mean that we all end up with the same results. So that's becoming a community of purposehood, or people who follow the process, and then within that there are, you know, people clusters, if you want to call, or groups who are finding that they are going toward the same direction, and those become like a community. We all have this very strong sense of belonging. We need to belong to something, and we really don't want to continue belonging to the old labels that separate us. We need new ways that where we can belong without feeling separated from others. It's not us and them. We are all one humanity on one planet toward one goal. And within that, each, you know, we are doing different functions in there, and that becomes the movement. So this is what we are now putting together. All the people who are involved, they're trying to contribute their time, their expertise into building this movement. So we just starting with trying to rebuild the website, mobile app, you know, use technology to enable people from around the world to join this, and then offer courses and teaching for them to do that. And hopefully together we can do something for ourselves and for the world at the same time. One of the core concepts that we talk about in Purposehood is selfish altruism, which I define as doing selfish things for altruistic reasons and doing altruistic things for selfish reasons. So that's what a Purposehood community is all about. And then we all become leaders in our spheres of influence, and hopefully unleash the potentiality of every person that we touch in our families, at our work, with our friends, so we can all build a better future for all.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amar. Really, truly inspirational. And I encourage everyone in the audience, if you haven't heard of Purposehood, please go to Amazon or your favorite bookseller and buy the book. It's a life-changing resource. So thank you, Amar. Really so appreciative and honored to have spoken with you, and wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thank you so much, Philip. I really, really enjoyed this, and hopefully we can count on you as one of the purposehooders and leader of these movements.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Stop the recording now. Okay, stop recording.